Hey everyone, another episode of Musings with Yo-Yo. I'm super excited for my guest today, Missy D, aka Deanne, aka Diane. Does anybody ever call you Diane?
A few people. A few people.
Okay, I feel like a few people means that I'm wrong. So Deanne, we'll keep it there. I was like, ooh, a few people are wrong. But yes, Missy D, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to see you. This is what I needed for the week.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, but now I know.
How's your week? Well, this is my first for those of you who listened to the episode where I was talking about myself. I mentioned that I'm moving to Toronto through Calgary. So I'm in my parents' house. I'm chilling in the basement, sitting on the floor. And setting this up, I was like trying to organize things so that D wouldn't look at me as a hot mess. But my first episode recording in Calgary, so I will work on the setting behind me. But yeah, it's good to see you. I've missed you a lot.
I miss you. I miss you already, and you just left, and I'm
Oh,
like, yo, when is Yoyo coming back? I'm like, it's okay. This will do. This will do for now.
yeah, this will do. So before we get started, before I start asking you about who you are and all of that stuff, I always ask everybody, how do we know each other?
That's a good question, Yoyo. I mean, my first memory probably dates back to like Jumpstart days. Like that's the first thing I could think of. But I think we probably met before, like
Yeah.
maybe at like a Joko party or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but we worked. It was like 2011. It's like 9 years
When did
ago.
we work at Jumpstart? 2012. 2012.
2012. Eight
Yeah.
years ago. 8 years ago. Our young selves. We still look fresh.
We thought we were the shit.
We really did though.
Yeah.
But we worked as orientation leaders, and then I don't know, we happened to click. I knew that I definitely knew of you because I was friends with, maybe I was roommates with Seth at that time. I don't even know.
Yes, you were roommates with Steph at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually we met, and I knew your name, but then we chopped it up, and then I think became friends then.
Yeah. Yeah. We became friends then, but I actually remember meeting you when you first started at UBC. Um, and when I say meeting you, you used to perform back then. Remember with
Yeah.
what was your group called? I don't remember, but with Pooja and Jen.
New Jen, yeah, with Jen Boyd, yeah.
Yes, yes. And so I used to come to those open mic nights and I'm like, okay, all right, get it, get it, get it.
That's
French
funny.
speaking rapper, yeah. So
French speaking rapper, who is she? Yeah.
yeah, who is this person? So that's how I remember knowing you. But what brought you to UBC? Why did you even come to Vancouver? Tell me a little bit about what got you there.
I mean, I don't know, the stars, God brought me brought me to UBC. I think I applied to a few universities, and my family, I'm the baby, I'm the child, I'm the baby. So it's assumed that I'm going to university. We worked too hard for you not to go to university. So
Right.
it was expected, and I thought I was gonna go to the East Coast, but one of my high school profs was from Vancouver, and I applied to two universities in the East and UBC. And then he was like, I don't know if Vancouver is the city for you. Like, you're more of like a
Hmm.
Montreal vibe, artsy, just be out there in the festivals. You can get over the cold. And I was like, sure, sure. And then I looked up UBC. I was like, it seems nice. And then let's say the paperwork came in on time. And then I was like, UBC, here we go. And I landed. And then I think I really fell in love with it in a weird way, and I'm still here.
Mm-hmm. And right now you also work for UBC. That's your
Yeah,
five.
that's my 9 to 5. Even again, another surprise. I never thought, if you told me like as a kid, like you could have a job at a university, I'd be like, it doesn't sound like a job. I don't know what that is. What does that look like?
Mm.
But again, the stars aligned that I left UBC, graduated, and then 3 years later I came back.
Mm.
I've been working there for the past 3 years again. So it's
Yeah,
part of the story.
yeah, we crossed paths again because we kind of lost paths when we graduated.
Yeah.
Or at least when I graduated, because I graduated for you. So we kind of like lost touch. And then I would randomly bump into you in Vancouver. And then you started working in the same place that I work, and just rekindled our friendship.
Exactly. And then when I saw you in the center, because I remember you working, like we definitely crossed paths when you worked at like the alumni center.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I like joined the team for the first experience team, I walked in the center and I knew you worked in the center, but I wasn't sure. And then I saw you and I was like, yeah, yeah! Like I got super excited. Like I thought we
Oh,
were orientation leaders again. I forgot this was like a professional workspace. I was like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, it's about
Yeah.
to go down. I became my 20-year-old self, and then I had
No,
to like catch myself real quick, be like, okay,
right.
cool. This is our workspace. It's my first day. Gotta
Yeah,
make some kind of
we're
impression.
not being paid honorariums anymore. We're getting paid for real. Yeah.
Paid, yeah. So that's definitely a happy surprise, but like it definitely brought some comfort to it. Like knowing
Mm,
that you were there, I was like, okay, cool. Like I know somebody, I trust this person, like I know this person, and I know like even if I don't get along with my team or something of that sort, I could like find find a friend somewhere else if I needed. But it worked out.
it's all right. You're allowed to say it. I'm your best friend at the office.
Let them know on record,
Let
on
them
record.
know on the
Let them
record.
know. Let them
Yeah.
know.
You came to Vancouver. You came to UBC from where? What was your where did you go to high school?
So I went to high school in Zimbabwe. So
Mm,
I went to like middle school in in French, and then I switched in English like to this international school in grade 10. Forgetting things now, but yeah, that was my last stop before coming to Vancouver, and then before that, I was in Ivory Coast, and then of course I was born in Rwanda. So when
mm,
people ask me where I'm from, good way of segue to like where are you from, D?
yeah.
I I usually say all those three places because they're part of my heart.
They're part of home.
Hey, that's the sound.
Home is where I belong. I've been
Eh,
memorizing all your songs from time. Like,
true friends.
yes,
True
exactly. Like
friends.
I was saying, like I saw you at I used to go to your open mic nights. Or at least I would see you at like a party here or there and like go to open mic. Did you always like have a love for music? Did you always? And before you answer that, maybe tell my fans,
Hey, tell them.
tell them what you do from your 5 to 9. So we know that you're 9 to 5. You work at UBC, but
Yeah.
I'm calling you Missy D because you're a femc. So tell
Hey.
us a little bit about what you do and like, did you always have a love for music? When did you find?
That's a beautiful question. To the Yo-Yo listeners, when I'm not working with Yo-Yo in the center, I'm also a hip-hop artist. So I go by the name of Missy D. I want to say like rap and soul music is what I call it. It's a mixture of soulful R&B to like hip-hop and the rap that we grew up listening to and created my own version of that. To answer your question about how it started,
Yeah.
another blessing, like for sure. I was like probably 11 at the time. I like to tell the story as my French class, we were, yo, yeah, we treated our teachers bad. let's let's say it like that, because like my music teacher was just trying to teach us the recorder, just
Yes. Oh
get
Lord, the recorder.
get that do re mi fa sol la si do on point.
Yeah.
That's really what he was trying to do. And then one kid in my class was not having it, and we were all like not doing so well. But one day he was like, this is like not what I want to do. This is not our music. Forget this, like a full rebel.
Oh wow.
And then the teacher was like, oh really, you're gonna act like this? Like, what do you want me to teach you? Like, you guys are gonna go nowhere, but if you want to go somewhere, tell me what you want me to teach you.
True.
Finally he's like, you should teach us hip hop. Like, that's what we listen, that's what we love. And I don't know, by the grace of God, like he went to the director, the principal, and then told him like, I want to change the music curriculum, make some like history of hip hop for the next 3 months, and then at the end of school,
Wow.
June 21st, we'll have like a music celebration. So this was all in French. So then, I used to write poetry. Like, I don't remember how that started, but I used to have this like poetry book and would write like pretty deep poems. Maybe I was always deep, but it would be like,
You stay being
vi-
deep.
deep, really. Like, I was like, violence is not the answer, peace, love, and unity type of thing. Like, that's what I remember from those poems. And then when the assignment became hey, add your poetry to rhythm. And we learned like the history of hip hop from its movement, from its political movement to like the four elements of hip hop, to sort of every aspect of hip hop that I love and cherish to this day. And then the assignment was like the test, really the big exam. On that stage, rap to this beat. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's easy. Like I love music from my dad and my mom. Like we're music lovers. Now I just gotta add poetry. That's cool. So I went on stage and then wrote a rap with one of my best friends at the time. And then after the performance, people were like, whoa, like you're actually pretty good. Like, and then Missy Elliott was really popular at the time. So because of my body, because of my look at the time, people were like, yo, you're like Missy Elliott, like you're the young Missy Elliott. So for that whole year, when I came back, they were like, yo, Missy Elliott, with that little French accent, you know. And then I don't know how the switch came, like I don't know when exactly, but later on, my parents called me Didi, so another nickname amongst the many names I have.
Oh.
So my email, like my Hotmail, you remember when we had MSN?
Oh, MSN. You want to know my MSN Messenger name, because everybody used to have those titles with stuff like that. Mine was like Concrete Rose. I stole it from Ashanti. I thought I was deep, but I really just stole it from Ashanti. So shout
out to Ashanti. We love her. No, mine was Missy Didi Diane, like really long, really, and I spelled it like Diddy, like the rapper and mogul. But later on I was like, Missy Diddy's too long, it's too much. And then suddenly I cut it down to Missy D, and then some of my friends, my close friends in high school, call me D. But everybody else called me Diane, like. And when I came to Vancouver, suddenly I switched to everybody called me D.
Yeah.
And then some folks called me Diane, like only a few folks. So
gotcha.
That's the origin story.
Oh, that's
2
dope.
minutes.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I actually didn't know. I don't think I knew that. I'd always just seen you on stage, and I wasn't sure where it came from. So it's interesting story. Shout out to the teachers who will listen to what students say, because it's for everybody. Like I stayed playing the recorder. I could have been a rapper. I could have been Yo-Yo on the, all that stuff. I'm still trying to be your hype woman, but my teacher stayed teaching us recorder. So
yeah, I still have the recorder, because it's funny, because when I flew to Vancouver, I brought like 2 suitcases and like a guitar that my dad bought for me that I really can't play, but I still brought it because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna learn this. And then in it, I dropped the recorder. And one day I was cleaning my house, and I was like, yo, what's in this bag? I was like, oh, there's music books. And then the recorder popped up, and I was like, oh!
Throwback,
the origin story. But and I shout out to him. Like I'm sure he doesn't know what I became, but like I think I wouldn't change a thing about that story, where it all worked out. And then when I moved to like that English school, I really couldn't speak English. Like I was living in Zimbabwe, but trust, I was watching French TV. My friends spoke French. I didn't really bother learning. And then music to me was like the only connector piece. Like I really wanted, I usually tell this story where I have this vivid memory. We're in Zimbabwe, the electricity cuts off. You know how it is.
I do.
And I'm sad, and I'm like, yo, mom, okay, candles. We didn't have a generator at that time. And then I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm going to go get my dictionary, English and French. And then I'm going to translate, what's that called? Love in This Club or Let It Burn by Usher.
Okay.
I know. Trust, I didn't know what he was singing. I just liked the song. I think it was Let It Burn. It was Let It Burn. And then I'm like writing the lyrics down, listening, because internet, I don't know, the internet was off. So I had to like listen to the song, write it as I think it is, and look up the word.
Wow.
So that's how I learned a bit of English. Maybe
impressive.
Not the right English.
That's so impressive.
Yeah. Like,
whoa.
yeah.
So you actually talked about your parents being like musically, like music parents and stuff like that. So my parents, I would consider them like sports people or whatever. But if I ever, I think they would have supported me if I tried to go to the WNBA. But if I ever told them, hey, I want to be a rapper, they would be like, we sent you to school, blah, 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 blah. How did your parents like react to you wanting to be a rapper? Like, how did they embrace or handle your creative side?
That's a beautiful question. Let me find the nice ways to say it. At first, honestly, they thought it was a hobby. Like, I know that for a fact. They were like, yeah, some people play basketball. This kid likes hip hop. Like,
Yeah.
it was that thing. And my big brother also, because my big brother was the oldest in the house that I connected with. They kind of knew that was also like, that's how I connect to like my bro, and like we like hip hop, and those are the kids you've raised right now.
Yeah.
But when I was rapping, I remember my mom came to one of the first shows, and she's like, it was nice, but like, it's for boys. Rap is for boys. Like, rap is for boys. So it was like very gendered and very like, I don't want you to, what is all this? Don't hold your crotch. Like, like all the stereotypes you have about rappers. It's dangerous, it's violent. Like all those stereotypes that, like, I guess gangster rap had at that time. Like, gangster rap was very popular, but that's not what I rapped about. Like, I've never pretended to be someone else. Like, I know where I grew up, and I lived in a privileged life in the suburbs. Why can't I rap about, like, I'm from the streets? Like, I don't know. I can't rap about that.
Yeah.
So it took her a minute to kind of get that this was like helping me in many ways. Like, there's something that is creating and helping me decipher my words and express myself, because I was a quiet kid. Like, I was pretty reserved. Like, I was friendly. Like, I think people would say I was always friendly and calm and reserved and like just observant. But I don't think I talked as much. And like, if you look back in my old like report cards, people would be like, she's very quiet. She's very like reserved. Let's get her to open up. And then, fast forward to it now where I'm like, yo, tell me about my life. There's a little side of me that's opened up with hip hop. But my dad, on the other side, he's always been a music lover. So like, I think I mentioned recently in one of my posts, I was like, yo, my dad listened to everything, like everything. And I didn't know what everything was. I was like, who's Otis Redding? I don't know who Otis Redding is. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, yo, go dad. Okay. And then, to like Kofi Olomide, or like all these legends that he had as CDs. But hip hop was like for the kids. Like, he's like, he brought me hip hop CDs. He was happy I listened to it. Me making music, he was more, like, he's only seen me perform maybe once when I was like in high school. And he thought that's what I did as like the co-curricular, like the very doctor mindset. Like, you got your community service, your co-curricular is your music. And that's about it. And it was only till later in life that, like, when I got to university, where he was like, oh, you're really serious about this. Like, oh, you really want to do this a lot. I was like, interesting. And like, I'm fast forwarding different chapters to explain how they felt at the end, where when I graduated, like, I don't know how you felt when I graduated. I was like lost. I was like, I have this degree.
I'm still lost, girl. Don't tell me, but I'm still lost.
I think you told everyone right now, but I feel you though. I feel you. I'm lost too. I'm lost too, but I felt pretty lost, and I didn't know what this degree. I have a degree in science. I love science. I'm very curious. There's a part of me that loves it, but there's a part of me that knew I didn't want to be a doctor. There's a part of me that was like, yo, I really love music. Like, I think that's what I'm meant to do right now, but I still didn't come to terms. So you're 23, you finished school. I think I was privileged enough to have a bit of savings in my account. And then I was like, yo, you know what? If I'm a grandmother, if I have the chance to be a grandmother, I just want my grandkids to know that when I was 20, like I made this album.
Oh,
Like
wow.
whether it gets millions of streams or not, like I just wanted to be able to say that to my grandkids and pull up a CD, be like, yo, check out grandma and these bars. But that was like my dream and my goal. So I wrote a letter to my dad expressing, like very objective, like very expressing why I want to do this album. That's
Wow.
all I want to do for now. I'll pay my rent. I'll pay everything. But yo, I got this diploma. Here's a picture.
Yeah.
Let me do this album. I don't know why I needed that approval, but it was a big deal. And then he wrote back being like, yo, that's a great objective. You should complete it. Like,
oh, wow. That's so awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of how they understood that it was more than just a hobby. And then in the last few years, I think now they just know that my mom knows that I make some extra money with it. So she's like happy. She's like, yo, pay your bills, make some savings.
Yeah.
And then I think my dad, before he passed away, he was like, we had this phone call once where he was like, you know what? Maybe music is your destiny. So I take it as like, I think at the end, he kind of knew that like, this is something that I hope to do for the rest of my life. Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's a full story.
Oh, that's so cool. That's really interesting because I was gonna ask like how did that conversation go? And it's the different experiences and the different reactions they had. Like I can't imagine having that. Oh, actually I can imagine having that conversation with my parents. I just don't know how they would react. And my parents stay being dramatic. So I don't know if everybody like that.
I mean, I don't think my mom understands
what's happening.
The extent of it. Like I don't like I'm not famous. But thanks, yeah. But I'm on like the fact that I'm on Spotify to my friends, that's really cool. That's like, yo, 1 million of people could listen to it. Maybe just 100 listen to it. But to my mom, like apart from the fact that my song is on YouTube, like she gets that. She's like, oh, I guess it's on YouTube. Wow, that's cool. Apart from that, she does not get the Spotify and like maybe here and there some articles that she might. But even that, she's never been to Vancouver. She won't be like, oh, which article wrote it? So she has a different perspective of it, but she knows that it's like, it's not part of my life. There's no way you can remove it. So whether I have a 9-to-5 or whether I do music full time, like she knows I will never remove music from it.
That's cool. That's really cool. You were talking also about like almost how easy it came. Well, let me not say easy because easy is probably not the best word, but like the way it came to like your creative process when you first discovered hip hop or started doing it when you were in school. And I don't know if you remember this, but back when was it last year or 2 years ago, I was, because, I stay thinking I'm a creative, and, I can do poetry, I can do all that stuff. And I remember I wanted to make like a creative gift for Will because he likes hip hop, poetry, open mic and stuff like that. And like the first day I was like, okay, I got this. I'm gonna make him this like whole thing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then probably 2 hours in, I had nothing, nothing. what the present was. And that was it. So I remember coming to you and I was like, D, I'm gonna need to book a meeting. I need a moment. I'm gonna need you to tell me what to do. Like, what is the creative process? And how do you go about your creative process? What is it? Because you really walked me through that. Like, I would not have been able to create that without you.
Yeah, that was a good session. That was a cool like way of.
That was fun.
That was fun.
It made me realize I cannot do this.
I mean, I wanna like debate on that. I think you can do this because you did it, and I think he liked the present at the end of the day. So,
he did.
So it worked out. It might have worked a little harder. That's about it. I think for me it varies. There's times where when I'm an overthinker, so I think a lot. There's a lot of thoughts that go into this head. And I'm also a very emotional person. Like I've always been emotional. I didn't always show it, but I've always been emotional. So I think you mix those two together. Sometimes I have to let it out. Sometimes I'm thinking about a certain thing for a while. Some lyrics come, or like I go research some random beats on YouTube, and then I start writing. There's that process which is like you'd say the organic, like, oh, express yourself, abstract. Yes, there's that. And there's also moments where I'm more I'm more objective about like, okay, this is the message I want to put out. So similar to building out a session, you think about the objectives, like, okay, what are the common themes? What's the history behind this? I think that's what I walked you through. I was like, okay, what's been the history? How do you want to break it down? And the more you talk, the more you're like, oh, there are months, there's this, and every month there was something. I was like, okay, cool. Like, okay, there's months, okay, messaging. What do you want him to like feel at the end of the day, like when he listens to this, or when he hears this, which is the same thing. Sometimes I'm like, okay, what do I want listeners to feel at the end of this track? Is it hope? Is it anger? Is it like a feeling of some sort? When I have those objectives down, then I'm like, okay, cool. Most of the times choruses come easy to me. So maybe I start with the chorus and like hum something, or really mumble something. That's the time I'm a mumble rapper. Like,
yeah, hey.
Like I claim it. I'm like, yeah, and then as I finish the course, because the course is like the summary of like my objectives in a way. It's like, oh, I want to talk about feelings, too many feelings. Yes, mama, I want to celebrate my mom. But the verse is where I'm like unpacking, like, why am I actually writing that song? Like, why are you actually doing this? And the more you like, similar to how we build sessions at work, the more you think about the why, the more you're like, all right, we do need to start with something that energizes people, because that's the why we're here and all. And that's the same with music. It's like, okay, I need to talk about this because that's the first thing on my mind. By the end of it, you have a verse, you add a chorus. Sometimes you write a bridge. Sometimes you meet somebody else, or even leave it in there's a lot of voice notes in my phone that are not that great, but yeah, maybe they'll turn out into great songs.
Exactly. You never know. Yeah. So what would you tell, like, if someone was trying to break into the world of music or things like that, what would you tell them to do? Like, how would they go about it?
I mean, there's multiple approaches. I don't think I have the one answer that fits all. There's parts of it like discover yourself. Like self-awareness is one of the biggest skills that I hope grade 2s learn when they're in grade 2, and adults learn for the rest of their lives.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's more about discovering yourself, because yes, you might love music, and I think most folks love music, and you will mimic what you see, right? You'll repeat what's being done. But as you fall in love with the art form or whatever it is that you're doing, the more you're like trying to define, like, what's my sound? So at the beginning, for sure, I might have been more hyped than I'm naturally. And then people would be like, yo, that's like Missy Elliott, because like Missy Elliott is like a more hype, like I got a cute face, chubby waist type of energy. And I'm like, that's really not me. I'm pretty shy and like emotional.
Yeah.
How do I talk about this in my own way? And the more you unpack your sound, the more you discover your sound, which as a musician, that's key. Being unique and being who you truly are is like what's gonna, there's so much music to consume these days. That's gonna kind of define you amongst the crowd. After that, if you're trying to break into the system and break into like, the gatekeepers of this world, I'm still trying to do that. People think I did, but I'm like, yeah, I'm still trying to break through. But it is about networking. There's definitely a component of that, and you might hate it. I hate social media. But you're gonna have to put yourself out there. And if you're just starting, it could be just an open mic. The hardest thing to do is pick up that mic in front of 30 people you don't know. I still like you said before starting this, I shouldn't get nervous, and I'm like, I get nervous at any point. But it's the challenge of like, okay, I'm gonna get over these nerves. They're gonna pump my heart. I'm going to go into this conversation. That's kind of the work that I do on stage, or if I'm in an open mic, or if I'm in front of 1,000 people, I'm like, okay, get this adrenaline, get this, get this energy up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
remember the why. Remember the why. That helps me kind of, certainly for my sort of music, that helps me ground myself into like, this is not just about me, because of course there's ego in it, but I think for me, music goes beyond that.
Mm. Oh, that's so cool. You almost sound like you're giving a career because like it sounds very similar to the conversations I'll have with whether it's students who are like the students that I work with or any of that. Is just the why, like the self-awareness helps direct you to where you want to go. And in the same way, now I'm just turning it into a career advising session, but like in the same way you'd have to network, get to know recruiters, employers, alumni, people who've been there before you, like work on your skill, find out what makes you stand out. It's quite similar. Sometimes it can seem so out of reach when people think like music, it's just so out of reach, I can't do it. So it almost sounds like you're hosting a career advising session.
Yeah, I'm always ready. Because it is a career. It is a career.
It is.
On its own. And I think because it's in the arts, often people don't value it or are scared of it, or think, you know, you can't make earnings or whatever it is that you can make out of it. But maybe I was lucky. Maybe there's some part of luck in it. But I think I surprised myself when I was like, okay, I can make a few dollars from this, but beyond this, I can perform in front of, 100 people I didn't know, or travel for it, or get paid to do it. Which, yeah, if you told my younger self said the same thing that my mom said. I was like, it's a hobby. Like, if you asked D when she came in like Vancouver day 2, I was like, I wasn't gonna tell anybody about Missy D. I just happened to mistakenly be like, fun fact, I rap. And then my friend was like, yo, this girl raps. Yo, do it in front of people. But I was like, I wasn't coming to university trying to introduce Missy D to Vancouver, but it just happened.
That's so dope. You talked about music being more than just like it meaning quite a lot to you. What inspires you in your music? Like, is it from your personal life? Like what inspires your music?
I mean, conversations like this with friends, definitely life events usually have an impact on my mental health, and music is my therapy in that way. But most of the time, like the people around me, like y'all are some wise folks. Like from students we work with, claim it, name it.
Yes.
You definitely inspire me to either unpack my feelings. So we might have a conversation just to check in. We're chopping it up, just be like, yo, tough week, busy. And then in the middle of it, you say something that inspires me. What most people don't know, at times I write like a quick message to myself.
Oh, so that's why you're always writing when I'm talking. So much sense now.
Like, why is this girl taking notes? Yeah, sometimes I do that. Or sometimes after the call, like, I don't know, I'm cooking or something, and something comes up, and I'm like, who said this again? And I just write it. Like, I often joke around that I quote my friends more. Some people quote the big names, and I'm like, I think I quote my friends, or they inspire the conversations, and I'm like, the revolution. Okay, what's the revolution about? I see it. Let's put it in a tune, basically.
Do you have a favorite song? Do you have a favorite piece of work?
From another artist?
From yourself?
I was like, that's such a tough question. It's like,
yeah, I feel like I've asked you that before. Someone's asked you that, and I was around to hear that. But I want your favorite that you've done.
People always like to ask that question. I'm like, I'm not a mother, but I feel like it's like asking who's your favorite child. And then you're like, yo, but like I love them all in different ways.
Yeah.
Which is like it sounds like the right answer to say, but I think like, yeah, I have two favorite songs right now. I will say I have two favorite songs right now.
Okay.
First one is the expected one that people will say is like Yes Mama, but I love that song not because people love it, because that's great. Please go
Yeah.
check it out, YouTube, you know.
Hey, Spotify, I'll put everything up so everybody knows to come check you out.
Thanks. So there's that song, but I think it's because it's a memory that I created with my mom
Mm,
that I think will last for a long time. Whether Spotify exists in millions of years, like I'm just happy to have created that moment with my mom where I just get to celebrate her, and
mm,
folks can get to celebrate their own mothers or mother figures or community moms or even their lost moms, and
mm,
celebrate them for all the hard work they did. So it just holds so much for others, but also so much for me and the story and what made me write that song, which is far more deeper than just Yes Mama.
yeah.
So I would say that's my favorite. And the second one is Paint, which
Mm,
is a first
I like that
track.
one.
And Paint is also like, I think it makes me laugh because I probably wrote it in like not showing off maybe 5 minutes. Like like
Wow.
like it probably just came out. It just
Mm,
happened. And that's just because I was really dealing with pain, and I was like, wait, I don't get this. And I like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to sing about pain? I'm tired of singing about pain. And there's often this like, way the storyline that people are like, yo, they want to see Black people struggle. Like I was like, I'm tired of this, and we struggled
right.
enough. So I was like, how do I talk about this like intergenerational trauma and pain, and
Mm,
like this idea that we're just making paint, but also the fact that that is really what I'm doing, is like I'm writing about my pain through this
yeah.
music. um so yeah, it holds that storyline, and it just came out, which a lot of the songs that just come out like that, whether it's Yes Mama was like a little longer process, but in the same format, or Too Many Feelings, just one day I was writing and
Mm,
then the song came out.
yeah. Wow. I wish I could do that.
No, well, let's have a session. You never know, but if you discover something, I want 5%.
I've been trying to be your hype woman for a while, so I'm ready for my cut once we start doing that. But I stay auditioning to be your hype woman. But I really like I can always tell from your music that it comes from very deep places. And I think also part of it is because I know you, and so we have conversations and things like that. Um, so it's cool to hear the different ways that you make music, whether it takes a long time or a shorter time. Um, I like to say I've been a part of seeing how you kind of grown over time, because I remember when Home came out, I remember all of that stuff, and so just even seeing the depth of your music is always super cool. You said you mentioned that you were quieter, you're an introvert. How does that show up when people meet like D versus when people see Missy D on stage?
I'm always scared of disappointing people, because I'm like, the people that only know me on Instagram have this idea. Even today, I don't really wear makeup like this. It's just because I have to shoot something
Yeah.
after after this conversation. But yeah, I've always been. I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I love performing. I enjoy performing. Call and response all day. Let's
Yeah.
get your hands up. But when I go home, I am like introverted to the fullest. I don't want to talk to too many people. Just
Hmm.
my own space. When I'm in a crowd of folks, I rather have like one-on-one conversations. So this is fun. This is like, you're gonna get that extroverted version of myself.
Yeah.
In big crowds, I'm like, I'm gonna turn back to like my shy self, and people are gonna think
Yeah.
maybe I act cool, but it's
Just too
actually
good for
not.
us. Yeah.
They're like, yo, D's acting real cool and all, but I'm like, nah, it's actually because I'm kind of shy, and it depends. I warm up to folks, so the
Mm-hmm.
warmer I get, and more extroverted I get.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think as an artist, I like to observe as well, so that's gonna inspire. It's gonna inspire the art. So I've gotten used to being silent, but I'm unlearning that I don't always have to be silent, and I can also be heard. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've been, shaking off as a kid, that I'm now discovering as an adult to do more. And if you really want to get to know me, definitely one-on-one. It's a lot of people. Yeah, you might not get Missy D, the Missy D you get on stage. And I would often tell my friends that, or my friends know that. But I guess my listeners, the people that listen to my music, often think that like, yo, she's so confident and she's so this and that. I'm like, maybe I'm an actress. I don't know.
Side hustle number 5. Yeah, because I know whenever you come to my games nights, I often will find you, like, you'll talk one-on-one in conversation with someone, like, I always know that's going to be your jam. You have a favorite chair that you sit on. I don't know if you know. I always know, like, there's a spot that you're going to sit, and, like, you always have, like, one-on-one conversations over there. Yeah, and so I'm sure when people see the artist versus seeing the person who's just hanging out in your day-to-day, it's like, oh, she didn't talk as much as I thought she would.
It depends on when you catch me. I feel like I talked a lot today, but it's also like I know you, and I'm like, I'll share all these stories. But when it's funny, and I do public speaking for work and all these different events. But sometimes I think it's because I've learned the tips and the best practices on how to hold space or cadence and all these different things. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to meeting new people, like I sometimes look at our job as orientation leaders back then, and I'm like, I did that. Yeah. Like I'm surprised that I like met new people, and I was like, so tell me where you're from. But since like, although I was a shy kid, I've also always been put in that role. So people always wanted me. Yeah, people always wanted me to do that. So the more you push me, the more I'm like, I can do this. All right, everybody put their hands up. Yeah. Wave them side to side. Okay, we're in this. And people are like, she knows what she's doing. I was like, maybe I've been practicing for a while.
Yeah. I was, there was a keynote speaker I heard at this conference I went to last year who talked about like belief. And I think I want to say I don't know what I want to say he's blind. I'm not sure if that's what it is. But he was saying like a lot of how he's gotten to where he's been is because of belief. And that's really been the biggest push for him, is like he told a story of how his grandma believed in him, told a story about his mentor. And like, it's those people who kind of push you into those leadership positions where whether you're quiet or not, like you get more practice over time, you get better at it, or you know how to navigate it better. So
shout out to those people.
Yeah,
hands down. Like shout out to the people that at the time I didn't know, but they definitely believed in me. And at first I was like, why are you making me do this? But the more they encourage or challenge me to do it, and that's often what I say to students. I'm like, there's moments that are going to be uncomfortable, but you might discover more about yourself, right? So the moments that are uncomfortable to me is like, when I have a show and there's 200 people, and I'm like, it's a lot of people. Like if I forget my lyrics, if something happens. But as I learned to navigate that challenge, suddenly by the end of the show, I'm like, I forgot what I just did. There was like, they're clapping, they're singing along, like, and someone says like, how can I follow you? I'm like, here I am paying rent on time. Thank you.
Support the rent fund.
Yeah. So
right now you juggle your 9-to-5 job, and then as I like to call it, your 5-to-9 job. Do you think what even made you decide to do what made you decide to juggle both? Like, do you think you'll do both, or do you think you'll eventually switch to music?
Do you want the real answer?
Give me the real answer.
The real answer.
I want the real.
Exclusives. No, it's not even an exclusive. It's before working at UBC, the job I had right before actually was you would call my dream job. Like I don't even know how it fell among the stars again, where this guy that had heard my music on Bandcamp messaged me, and he was like, hey, I'm working on this play. Do you compose music? And I was like, I barely play an instrument. I don't really compose. He's like, but you write music. And I was like, yeah. So I ended up composing music for this musical theater, and like it was at his home. It was like sort of self-made, independent, and then we worked out a little pay, but it was bare minimum. So I was living paycheck by paycheck, and I was living a starve it, like I was 23 or something, but I was like, yo, I'm a broke artist. Like, like definitely my 9 to 5 was fun because I would go and make music or sing to a mic. But then, you know, pay rent, and then I'd be like, yo, that's all I have in my account. Okay,
Wow.
cool. And then later on, like I got the UBC gig and I was like, oh my gosh, I can pay rent and like have a bit more in my fund.
Yeah.
So from that experience, what I learned was like, okay, like D, like although you have those shows plus this gig, it doesn't seem like it's enough in Vancouver. And that's the harsh reality right now. It's like Vancouver is expensive. And I was like,
a scam.
Like I can't just do this lovely life and live paycheck by paycheck. Like it just seemed hard, and it got me too stressed. So when I got the UBC job, I was like, it came at the right time, like perfect. And I was like, okay, this is great because like I need to pay these debt, like the debt I have or whatever it is, back. And then the more I did the UBC job, you would think that I would quit. But because I was scheming, like I stay scheming every day. One thing I didn't mention in the career talk, stay scheming, always.
What do you mean by scheming? Tell me.
Scheming is making moves, connecting. It's part of the network. It's part of the networking. So I had networked to the point that I had like done a cameo in a short-term film, and then they used my music, and then they were like, oh, but we can't pay you for your music, but we can do a video for you. And I was like, oh, you can? That's cool. scheme come through. And then later on they were like, oh, we can apply for this grant and get a bit more funds because we want to produce something well for this song. Do the scheme for that, got the grant, won an award for it, got to travel to South by Southwest. Scheme again.
Hustle, as some people call it.
Yeah, exactly. I usually call it hustle, but then people think it's side hustle, and I'm like, nah, it's constant hustle. It's like
all the time.
Yeah, like constant hustle, and sometimes it works out, and it opens one door, it closes another. Sometimes, you know, there's similar to when you apply for jobs and you send your resume and no one replies. Yeah, I have a lot of those emails from back in the day where nobody replied, and I was like, I'm a young emerging hip-hop artist. My name is Missy D, and like nobody replied, and I'll be like, cool.
Say less.
Say less. But later on, you know, suddenly people then message you years later and are like, yo, by the way. So that's what I've learned to do and perfect a little bit. That at that point I was like, maybe I am my own manager. When people ask me if I have a manager, it's me. Diane is my manager. But it's like it became evident that I was like, okay, maybe I can juggle these two things that I love, because I do love student development. I fell in love with it, and I was just like, yeah, this is cool. This is like it answers my why, where I was like, I want to help people, and like helping students to me is important, because I wish and I hope that people have that around them when they go through an experience like a university or college or whatever they end up doing. So it aligned, and then when I was like, okay, I like this job, it's pretty cool, pays my rent, I can still scheme and hustle and do my shows.
And you also get to bring Missy D to work. That's something that I've also found is like, you're not having to separate who you are, Missy D, from who you are, D, at work, because like at work we recognize what it is that you do and stuff like that. So maybe it's even that, like finding a job that sees you.
It's definitely a privilege. Where I think the job itself, I mean, I think they knew what they were getting as well. Like I think
that's fair.
At this point when I was starting this job, I had also like come to terms with like, yeah, I do music. If you didn't know, this is how I talk. It's like there's not many changes you're gonna get out of it.
Yeah.
And you know, from the first week where people are like, hey Diane, like 10, I was like, yo, people called me Diane at Telus, but that's just because I was on the phone.
Yeah.
But you can call me D, like it's cool.
Yeah.
And you know, to unlearn and decolonize our minds about professionalism, I was like, you should respect me if my name is D or Diane.
Yeah.
It should be the same respect, right? So I came to terms with that. At first I was like, maybe I should change my name if I'm in front of like the
Hmm.
VP. And then I was like, nah, like, you should respect me if I say my name is D or Diane. I don't
Yeah.
know why that should change something, right? I actually only put it Diane here because that's how you get my email.
Right.
So if someone wants to know my email, they have to know my first name. And I'm also proud of that name. I don't want to erase
Yeah.
it. But that shouldn't earn more respect than D.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that's true. The workspace kind of welcomed that atmosphere, and then I guess I didn't give up because there's definitely some days where I was like, yo, I'm not sleeping enough. I'm
Mm.
not doing, I can't juggle these two. And sometimes I have to take breaks. That's what I learned. I had to like
Yeah.
pause and be like, I can't do enough shows. I have to say no to shows
Yeah.
that come to me. The same way that I had to also be more transparent to my managers and be like, so I have this show coming up on Sunday and Saturday. So really, I don't really have a weekend.
Yeah.
So I might take Monday off.
Mm.
And then them being like, okay, I get it.
Right. Right. That's again that's the holistic you, which is cool. Which is very much a privilege. I don't know if everybody can say that about their workplace.
Hands down a privilege, which
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
that's part of the reason that it worked out. Because I think if they didn't accept it, I probably would have chosen music and gone back to being a broke artist.
Yeah.
Like, you know, knowing myself, knowing my stubborn self.
Yeah.
The Capricorn in me, as they say, like
Hey, Capricorn.
and I've been like, oh, you don't accept me? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Bye. I will show you. Yes. I will show you as oatmeal.
Yeah, they might be watching this, but hey, shut up, love you.
It's cool. It's cool. We both work there. So I have one more question, 1.5 more questions for you.
Yeah.
What do you look forward to the most for the next like 5 years? It sounds like a very work question that you have in an interview, but what are you excited for that's coming up?
I'm ready for the job you're gonna offer, you know. What am I excited for the next 5 years? You know, it's been hard to think of that answer, to be honest with you. Like if I keep it real and 100, like looking forward has been one of the most challenging things in the last few months with everything that's happened in my life, because I've been stuck in looking backwards and looking very nostalgic of my youth or my times with my family or like with my dad, all these different moments. And I'm like, yo, what is the future? I'm living past and present. That's it. Like past and present. So when you ask that question, I think it's really helpful and healthy to think about it, because I'm like, yeah, I should think about the future. I hope that I'm doing music full time. I can now say it and feel comfortable about that. My managers know, like, I've told them that, hey, like if it's possible, full-time musician would be the dream gig and in those coaching sessions. 5 years from now, like, I mean, I hope, you know, when we were 21, when probably doing Jump Start, I was like, yo, married 22, kids 27.
Yeah.
Like, I had this calculation in my head. Yeah. So that calculation didn't work out, and I'm glad it didn't, because I can't afford another phone bill. So it's cool. But maybe in the future, like building a family, like for myself. And lastly, if I have enough money, like I had this big dream when I was a kid to build like some type of association or something. So, you know, getting that started.
What kind of association?
When I was a kid, it was to do with like kids on the street. Like that's where I wanted to focus on. Depending on where I end up living, because I don't know if I'm always going to live in Vancouver.
Right.
But let's say 5 years from now, I live in Vancouver or not, I think building an association that has to do with arts. I think arts has given me so much. So maybe there's ways I could develop something where it's a safe space and or an inclusive space for folks to come in and express themselves with an art form, whether it's drawing or music or theater or conversations like this. Like that's art to me, where you're holding space for people to express themselves, which I don't know. I hope I can be like my music teacher to somebody.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a good goal. Let me know when you start hiring. I mean, I'll volunteer for you. Just let me know. And I'm rooting for you all the way. I'm rooting for you. I like just thinking about seeing you in your first year to now. I'm just so proud of where you've come.
Thanks, Yo-Yo.
So I'm rooting for you. I'm looking for the next
I'm rooting for you, Yo-Yo. What are you talking about? You're saying I'm looking at you. I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at you, Yo-Yo. I'm like,
please, let's not talk about Yo-Yo at 20. Let's leave that under the rug.
You don't want to tell these folks about you?
Let them find out about me little by little, okay?
No, I mean, we've grown. I think like that's
we really have. Yeah,
that's a true moment of like reflection. Like we've definitely grown to fully understand ourselves, which I think is like a beautiful message, you know, as Black women, as Black folks, to understand ourselves in these worlds that we navigate, or these worlds that we sometimes don't see ourselves. Like I think I'm glad to look at someone like you and be like, hey, like, all right, yeah, she's making moves. Okay, I can make moves too. Let's continue this hustle.
Let's go together. Yeah. Okay, so my last half question, I do this with everyone. Do you have a question for me? And you only...
I only get one. You asked like, wow.
You only get one. Show my rules.
Yeah, I need a little moment to reflect and think. Can I get part A, part B?
Part A, part B. Okay.
Like that's one question, and there's two parts to the question. You know.
Just because it's you.
Thanks. Nobody steal my idea. Let me see if I can phrase it in two parts. I'm trying to
call me.
Yeah, I'm scheming, yo. I'm scheming. So part. All right. Question. It's looking forward and past. So part A is, what has been your favorite memory of us two together? Ooh. And part B is the twist of that. What's a memory that you want us to do in the future?
Ooh, those are good questions. I love it. My favorite memory, I think this is actually pretty easy, is when we started working together at Jumpstart. Because that's when I got to know you. Like I used to know you as Miss D. And when we started working together as student leaders at Jumpstart, like I got to know you as D the person, and it was just cool. Like it was a crew of us. It was me, you, and Rakai, and we would just hang out all the time because we were residence advisors. And I just got to know how cool of a person you were. And I think that's where our friendship really started to grow, because we had that whole year or two of doing Jumpstart. And
true.
We would see each other every other week at least. It was confirmed. So our friendship grew over that time, and like you saw me when I was graduating and I didn't know what it is I wanted to do. And like, we've seen each other in so many weird parts of life, and we just keep bumping into each other, but it started from there. And I think that's the reason it's a favorite memory of mine. And what memory do I want us going forward? Well, first of all, I want you to come visit me in Toronto.
Hey, that's how I'm putting it into existence, you know?
Like throw it out there. You have to come visit me in Toronto. I want everyone to meet the D who I know. Yeah. But also, like, I'm looking forward to seeing how our friendship continues to grow. I think when you started working at the center, we got a chance to, again, reignite that friendship, and I've seen just the deepness of our relationship since then. So, like, I always invite you to have at my place, and because I value you as a friend. And so I want to see where that friendship goes. I'm looking forward to memories, and, eventually you can babysit some kids. I don't know.
Hey.
Let me chill. Some kids, some child.
I might get them rapping, but I don't know how you feel about that,
Let's talk about it real quick. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see where our friendship goes. It's gonna be good.
Me too. Me too. That's why I was wondering. I'm excited to create more memories with you and share more laughs. I think we've laughed. You might have seen me cry a little bit too.
A little bit.
a little bit. But we also had some real talks, which I think that's what you want in friendships. Like you want those moments where through the ups and downs, through the questions, through the uncertainty, you have that person. I think whether it was a lot or like, I don't know, we saw each other every day or something like that. Like, I think at the end of the day, like I cherish those moments, and I'm excited to build more. So, you'll see me in Toronto, or you'll see me through the screen.
We'll stay connected for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate having you on here. And for people who don't know Missy D, where can they find you? Instagram, Spotify. What's your Instagram handle?
Instagram is Missy D _FemC. So MISSYD_FEMCEE. And then Spotify, just type in Missy D and, tune in, listen to Yes Mama, the EP, or When Music Hits You Feel No Pain if you want to go back to my younger self.
To everything, because everything is amazing on there.
Or check out Lady Gems, and then you get to yeah.
I'll post that all so everyone knows where to find you. But I appreciate you. I love you.
I appreciate you. I love you. Thanks for this talk. I forgot we were filming for a second. So there's parts of it where I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But that's just because I was just talking to you. So thanks for holding that space and, making me reflect about our journey together.
Yeah.